everyone says this was a conspiracy theory. And what I said is the Bibas family was viciously murdered.
Yes.
We know.
Yes.
2 children and a woman.
Babies.
And the IDF knew who the people who kidnapped them were and where they were. And we were not allowed to hit them because they do not belong formally to Hamas or Islamic Jihad. And therefore, the Attorney General of the IDF said that they are civilians protected by the first protocol of the Geneva Convention. And the Geneva Convention is intended to protect civilians who get caught in the midst of fire. So if you're in a combat zone in Ukraine and you pick up a weapon to defend yourself, you are still a civilian and you are protected. And after you lay down your weapon, the other army, it's illegal to shoot you. But these are not civilians getting caught in a combat zone. This is part of an terrorist invasion of our country, people who committed crimes against humanity. Why on earth should the IDF protect them based on the Geneva Convention? This is absurd.
It's an anti-Israeli ideology, it seems.
No, I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. They have an ideal and they see it as their job and their purview to protect their conceptions of universal human rights.
Right, but universal is not Israeli.
They're anti any country that asserts its right to protect its national identity.
So could we capture this ideology then by calling it pro-jihadi?
There are a form of autoimmune disease that the West has.
Why does an Israeli prime minister need to do anything that the president of the United States or the president of any other country demands? Why?
Have you been here during Iron Swords?
Sure. No, I was not here.
You're not?
No.
So you would have known that they were stepping on our oxygen supply, which is ammunition. We had no ammunition.
Right, but you had no ammunition because you chose to be dependent on U.S. ammunition, right?
Do you think you can fight the U.S.? Do you think we can directly confront the U.S.? Because I think...
Are you imagining that the U.S. would ever have the right political grammar to launch a direct attack on Israel? Are you afraid of that?
The United States almost annihilated the state of Israel.
When?
And by acquiescing to the Iranian nuclear program.
Well, then they're not your friends. That's my point. If the U.S. government...
They're not always our friends. It depends. The Democratic Party is certainly not our friends.
The Oslo was constructed out of the Madrid Peace Conference of 1991. Yeah. That's where all this business began. In which
we were forced to participate.
You were not forced to participate.
No.
You chose to participate. This is very important. I think the security...
That was Shamir. Was
Yitzhak Shamir.
There was no more stubborn prime minister ever in Israel and more resistant
Evidently,
to pressure.
he could be even more stubborn because he went
How do you know that?
Because he went to Madrid.
How do you know that they didn't have leverage to suffocate us? How do you know that?
Well, I know.
How do you know that they couldn't pass a Security Council resolution demanding inspection of our nuclear facility?
All right. So
how do you know that?
Okay, fine. So you're saying that it is possible to exert sufficient pressure on Israel that will justify an Israeli prime minister bringing the people who want to commit genocide against the Jews into the Jewish state.
What is this black and white?
I think it's black and white. I think if people want to murder all of the Jews, that's black and white.